You win some, you lose some, and you draw some, as in that case. So Denmark and Tunisia finished 1-1, and that's how the Group D table opens up. OK, I suppose, Kenny, the first question is fairly obvious. Does that put a real question mark over Denmark's prospects of going deep into this tournament?
Yeah, without a doubt. You can never judge a team off maybe one performance, but I just got a sense looking at that. I was thinking, oof, this is poor. This really is poor in all aspects of the game. Looking across the defensive line, spoke about care, leadership qualities there, maybe so, but real lack of pace. Anderson alongside him as well, very one-paced. Only Christian really got a turn of foot, so I think they've got problems there defensively. Ericsson on the periphery again, when he doesn't turn up, very lack of creativity in the team, and that real cutting edge up front. I kind of questioned it before the game in terms of Dahlberg and Olsen to a certain extent. Very little from them, no impact from the bench, so very little to grab onto if you're a Denmark supporter, even a neutral, looking at that game and trying to assess the qualities of that Denmark team. So yeah, we spoke about maybe dark horses at the start of this game for the tournament, but that seems a bit of a reach, even saying that at the moment. Yeah,
and you have to put the opposition in context as well, Kevin. While Tunisia did acquit themselves very well, and they'll be delighted with a point, they're no world beaters, are they?
No, I spoke beforehand, they're really well organised. They defend all over the pitch, but everyone behind the ball. Struggled to score goals, but in the first half, actually, they had way the better chances. This and Denmark had the better chances in the second half, but it was a reasonably even game. The worry for Denmark, you think they made 3 substitutions around the 68th minute. They brought on Cornelius Jensen and Damsgaard. It made no difference to it. They were slow about getting the ball forward, couldn't get Ericsson into the game. They played around the back like they were the dominant team and they could go forward at will whenever they wanted to. You know, pick a pass, we'll just keep the ball for a while. That didn't happen. You know, they went nowhere with it. Tunisia were delighted to see them. Slow, predictable. Disappointing in what we thought might come from.
Because I mean, it's very surprising. I mean, we weren't just going on their form in the Euros last year. We were going on the way they qualified for this tournament, which was in an extremely efficient manner. And also, they've recently beaten France both home and away. So you'd wonder...
Yeah, it's a hard one. You're right, Peter. It's hard to get inside their heads. Even like the time of the year the tournament's coming, this isn't like the end of a long season, 60 games under a belt, physical and mental fatigue. This is coming tournament at a time of the season where they should be at their peak. That's when I felt at my best, kind of mid to late November. Not sure about you, playing me club football, though, so they should be right at it.
I never felt at my best.
But yeah, so there's no excuse, is what I'm saying. Absolutely no excuse. Lethargic, you know what I mean, to one pace, couldn't quicken up the tempo of the game whatsoever. And again, what I contrast with Tunisia was energy levels from Tunisia. They were switched on mentally, defensively around their box, seeing danger, getting cross, winning headers, making tackles, being aggressive, winning tackles, getting players into forward areas of the pitch. It didn't create a huge amount of goal-scoring chances, but the kind of basics, the fundamentals that you would expect were at least there, and because of that, they deserve their point from the game.
Yeah, one thing's for sure, France will be delighted to hear that result, as indeed will Australia. They'll be given some hope as well.
Yeah, listen, it opens up the group now. Yeah. I don't want to write off Denmark now straight away, because we just spoke about how they qualified. They're just beating France home and away. They're obviously got quality players. I'm wondering, did they just underestimate Tunisia? Weren't quite up for a thought. Listen, this will be reasonably straightforward for us. We're a big team now. Everyone's talking about how good we are. Maybe it was a bit of a reality check for them and they'll bounce back in the next game. But it makes the group interesting. Gives Tunisia something, to cling on to. It gives Australia thought, we can finish second, because it looked like it's going to be France and Denmark pretty straightforward now, because the other teams, if we get a result now, we can sneak that second spot.
Does this also demonstrate, Kenny, how well organised even the so-called lesser nations, the not the superpowers of world football, they're now better coaching, better defensively, better set up, and they're harder to break down.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're seeing. I spoke about it earlier prior to the Saudi Arabia game in terms of this kind of common theme or agreement amongst people that kind of the African countries and teams from like Saudi Arabia, etc., Middle East countries were lacking a bit defensive nous. You could always grade individual players, attacking flair in the team, individual quality, but in terms of the defensive organisation and individual defensive play, they were always a little bit short of their European counterparts. But I think we're seeing that gap being bridged.
No superstars in either team either.
No,
usually you might have one top player of their lane, not in either Saudi Arabia Tunisia
absolutely. So I give the coaches and the manager credit for that, and the players for taking it on board, because Saudi Arabia earlier today and Tunisia again today, I think that was the standout feature of both of those performances in terms of the defensive structure of both teams. That's what got both of them a result.
It should give us, as Ireland, hope. You know superstars. Most of that team are playing the second division in France. You know, they still managed to keep a very good team, going to a World Cup and keep a good team scoreless and create chances themselves. You know, there's no reason why we can't do something similar without any superstars, but with a bunch of decent players.
They're well organised. I think you build from there. It's a bit of like an old traditional, some would say Neanderthal approach, but it's right. That's where you build from, a sound defence.
So 6 matches into this World Cup and we've had our first scoreless draw, and I think that's going to be reflected in the analysis that we have, Kenny. Now, I don't know whether you were clutching at straws or not, but you picked out a penalty claim towards the end of the game for Denmark.
Yeah, there was a penalty claim, in my opinion. No penalty. Took him a long time to get around to assess it, but scratching my head as to why the fifth assistant or the VAR official has actually asked the referee to go and have a look at that. For me, it's pretty clear. The ball comes over Cornelius' head, and Talby's the defender, actually strikes him in the body force, strikes him on the chest, and then rebounds onto his arm. So that's as simple as it. That's as clear cut as it gets, Peter. No penalty. His arm's in a natural position. Doesn't even hit his arm first of all. Hits his chest, rebounds onto his arm. Easy decision. Shouldn't have wasted the referee's time sending him over to have a look at him on it.
It's a good thing, though.
I'm playing devil's advocate here, by the way, Kevin. I mean, very often you hear people saying, was his arm in an unnatural position? Whatever that may be.
Yeah, no, it's attached to his body, and we're seeing it in slow motion. And when in slow motion, great. Oh, I'll just move it out of the way or whatever. That's coming at like 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. Player in front misses it. You don't know it's even coming. It's his chest first, then his arm. But when you see the ref going over, and that took a couple of minutes before the ref was actually called over that. A good few plays had gone on from that. When you see him going over, you think he's going to give this, because they seem to be giving everything now when they're called over. But thankfully, he had a good look at it and, stood up for himself, the ref, and made his own decision, didn't rely on
it doesn't give you a lot of confidence on the VAR official, doesn't it? Who's looking at that and making that call. He's clearly seen that, thinking, that's a penalty. In my opinion, that's a penalty. I've got to send the referee over to have a look at it.
Well, I don't think the VAR official can give his opinion. He can only advise the referee maybe he should take a look.
Of course, that's clearly his opinion. If he's sending him over there to have a look at it, he clearly feels he's made a mistake, and his opinion is that it is a penalty. So that's what I'm saying. That doesn't give you a lot of confidence really in the officials, in the panic room or the VAR room, or whatever you want to call it.
The VAR room, yeah. And we saw a few VAR incidents earlier on in the Argentina game, which we will be showing you again, by the way, in case you missed it a little bit earlier. Let's move on to the few chances that came Denmark's way. We wondered if they could up the ante and improve their performance, Kevin, in the second half.
They were better in the second half than they were in the first half. It's across from Dansgaard here. Dahlberg should get more on the header. We're not going to see a replay. He glances it. He just needs to get more on it. This one's Eriksson. One of the few times in the game where he got through the middle and got anywhere in shooting distance. It was a decent save. That's the biggest chance of the game. Cornelius has come on off the bench. There's his chance to be a hero. We don't see the replay of it. He didn't know whether to go his foot or his head or what. I think the post maybe frightened him a bit. And this one, shot come cross from Lindstrom, who came on off the bench. It was a decent strike. The keeper dealt with it reasonably well. It was a wobbler. It was an inside of the foot strike, moving all over the air. But listen, better than they were in the first half. They did nothing in the first half. Tunisia had the better chance. Second half, they did come out and do a bit. Again, it was nothing clear cut there. Cornelius has one. They should put it away.
Had any of those chances gone in, do you think we'd be reflecting on the Denmark performance slightly differently? Would our opinion be affected by the scoreline?
No, because you can't change what you saw for the remaining kind of 89 minutes of the game, Peter. You can't just push that to the side in terms of how sluggish they looked across the defensive line, the kind of lack of creative element within the team. Eriksson was brought into more of a central midfield position in the second half, got into the game a little bit more. We saw the shot that he had, but still couldn't get it on the ball off enough to dominate the game. No real spark up front. I don't think you can just dismiss that. He just wasn't good enough, despite the fact whether they would have poached the goal. Cornelius could have toe poked that ball in at the back post, but we wouldn't be saying anything different. We wouldn't be talking up Denmark for potential World Cup winners off the back of that. No. Overall performance just not good enough.
Okay, talk to me about the Tunisian defending then.
I'll talk about defending all day, Peter.
I know.
If you want me to. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Similar to the Saudi Arabia performance today. Second half, Saudi Arabia was absolutely phenomenal. I loved what I was seeing. This is early on. Mariah, lovely bit of composure here. I would have been smashing this ball into the stand. Shows real composure early on in the game. This is Talby coming from that central defensive position, coming across and getting a block. No easy crosses into the box. Again, Talby alert defending at that near post. The back three in particular, I thought were really solid. This is Abdi, the left wing back. Initially gets caught out, but great recovery speed to get back and make the tackle. And again, working in pairs, this is Talby 1v1 situation, staying on his feet, not panicking, again, preventing crosses into the box. Olsen, again, the 1v1 situation with that real aggression, taking real kind of pride in his defending there, the Tunisian left wing back. I love to see that. A couple of crosses again in the second half. Mariah was dominant in that kind of central defensive position. So I was really impressed with them across that defensive line. That gives you a lot of confidence, I think, as a team. If you're a forward player and you're looking back down the pitch and you're seeing your defensive rearguard taking as much pride in the defending as they are, gives the whole team confidence, I think.
Yeah, I suppose we shouldn't be too surprised, Kevin, because as I mentioned, they had 7 consecutive clean sheets in the lead up to the World Cup before they lost out to Brazil in a friendly at the Parc des Princes. But that's Brazil. So obviously they're pretty adept at defending.
They were battle hardened. They were a tough qualifying group. They got in to qualify. Then they had to play a playoff, 2-legged playoff against Mali. It was 0-0, I think, in both. Like went to extra time in the second leg and they won 1-0. So that's the type of team. They're dogged.
Yeah.
You know, they'll keep going. They'll hang in there. They actually created more than I thought they would in the game, and they look quite dangerous. Now that's on the counter attack. Well, that's more Denmark being very slow at the back at times, and you'd worry for Denmark there. Tunisia, you know, decent play. I expected them to be solid and hard to break down, but I didn't expect them to have really any clear-cut chances, and they did have a couple.
Okay, be interesting to see how they go throughout the rest of the group.